Hi, this is Aquifil again, and today I want to talk about the Universal title by WWE. Yesterday at Raw, or on Raw, they introduced this new title, and yeah, well, it makes sense that Raw would introduce a new and their own world title, because at Battleground, Dean Ambrose snatched the title right under their noses. Both Rollins and Reigns weren't able to pin him, so you have the big, huge title on SmackDown, and yeah, of course, Stephanie McMahon and Mick Foley, won't let that fly and decided to create their own title. The name, not really my taste, but it makes a lot of sense, because what's bigger than the world title, or the world, the universe. And looking at how the WWE fans are, well, the fan base is called the Universe, and that Stephanie McMahon and Mick Foley want to one-up SmackDown. Of course, they call it the Universal title, even if that sounds, well, a little bit strange at first. The biggest problem for me is that I'm not a fan of two world titles. Absolutely not. And yeah, I get that with the possibility of brand exclusive pay-per-views, and as I got it, there will be brand exclusive pay-per-views on a monthly basis, which in my opinion is a little bit too much, although I'm happy to preview and review all of them. A lot of content for me, hooray. It makes a lot of sense that you don't want to have your main brand, because Raw still is the main brand, the main show, the flagship, without a world title. Because in the main events, most people want to see, for example, a match like Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins. They want to see a title in that, or want to see that match for a title. Maybe because names like Finn Balor and Seth Rollins, as popular as they are not yet big enough to carry the match just because it is them facing each other, like we had with The Rock and John Cena, or Brock Lesnar and John Cena, Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker. Basically any Undertaker match, that's the main event. Whatever is last on the card, this match most of the time is the main event. And yeah, I don't know, WWE maybe doesn't trust these guys that much yet, or they think the biggest match on the card, the headliner, has to be a title match, or if it's not a title match, it has to be a legend versus another soon-to-be legend or legend, and I don't care. Still, I would have loved to see the brands feud for the title. For example, like SmackDown now has the title, and Raw gets 2 shots each year. They can determine a contender for Raw, who then faces Dean Ambrose at the moment at their Raw pay-per-view. And for the title, of course. And if Raw wins one of those matches, Raw has the title. SmackDown gets the same rights. And of course, at WrestleMania, the Royal Rumble winner, if he is from the other brand, he still faces the guy for the title at WrestleMania. And yeah, Money in the Bank, well, it would have added a lot of fire to the Money in the Bank, a single Money in the Bank match, or the Royal Rumble match, because it's not only one guy versus the other, but the interests of the brands and their GMs and or CEOs or whatever they are called, these interests would go into that, and it would make the feud so much more intense and so much more meaningful. Anyway, this would have worked a lot better if WWE had decided to do bi-monthly pay-per-views. For example, in January we have Royal Rumble, in February we have Raw pay-per-view, then WrestleMania, in May we have a SmackDown pay-per-view, in June Raw, in July SmackDown. You get the idea. With that, it would have worked perfectly that way, and the title would have seemed so much more prestigious, because the whole WWE Universe, both brands, want that one title because it gives their brand prestige. So with the Universal title, of course, we can have monthly world title matches on Raw too. Still, it takes a little bit away from the SmackDown World title because it's not as exclusive anymore. And this lack of exclusiveness, that's why I'm not a fan of two real world titles. Anyway, WWE did a lot of things right introducing this title. They didn't just hand it out. They had 2 pay-per-view class Fatal 4-Way matches with a lot of good competitors, no filler guy in there. Names like Chris Jericho, the reigning US champion Rusev, Sami Zayn, Finn Balor, Roman Reigns, lots of guys who have really big names. And then, the winners of those 2 Fatal 4-Ways on Raw had to face each other, and the winner, Finn Balor, has to face Seth Rollins, who has never lost his title, at SummerSlam for this vacant title. That's a good way to build it up. You had a lot of strong names in there. They really made the whole thing matter, and that was really awesome. Still, I see several problems with it, aside from the lack of exclusiveness. If there are 2 world titles, one for each brand, Raw has 4 titles now, and SmackDown has 2. And the in-depth quality of the SmackDown roster, I've already commented on that the main event is first class, the upper card is first class, the IC title, potential IC title division, depends on how many of the upper card guys go for the IC title, and the women's and tag team division, they're just there so you can have women's and tag team action on SmackDown too. But SmackDown will have a hard time filling their pay-per-views with mostly interesting matches, especially in the mid and undercard. Raw has the problem fitting everything that could be or that deserves to be presented in a huge way on a card, because we have 4 titles. That means we have 4 feuds: the Universal title, US title, Women's Championship, and of course the Tag Team title, that need to be built up for each month for a pay-per-view. And that's a lot of work, a lot of screen time on Raw needs to be because you can't evade to SmackDown for that anymore. You have to present that on Raw. You really have to build all that on Raw. And a pay-per-view isn't 4 matches. A pay-per-view has 7 to 8 matches mostly with the WWE. And 4 matches are gone, and 4 matches need to be built up hugely, in a huge fashion. You have a lot of guys in the upper card who cannot compete for all the titles, and you have to build those up too, because, for example, you have Sami Zayn versus Rusev for the United States title and Seth Rollins versus Balor for the Universal title. What about Roman Reigns? Roman Reigns needs a big match too. Let's say he goes against Kevin Owens. You need to build that one up too. You can't just say those 2, well, you go at it just for the heck of it. You can't do that because people won't invest in it as much as they would if you really had built it up. So 5 matches that need to be built up on 3 hours of weekly television each month. Sounds like it's going to be hard for the WWE creative to make that work, because before the roster split, they weren't really able to make it work. And with a rumored Cruiserweight division that is supposed to be on Raw too, it gets even worse, because you have to present the Cruiserweights, and after a while one thinks, why are, for example, and I think the Cruiserweight Classic is mostly a long search for guys who are as awesome or awesome enough to be on the main roster, to be in a Cruiserweight division. And it's a huge search for talent, and you have a lot of talented guys in there, and many of them will appear on WWE television. sooner or later. And in the Cruiserweight division, why, for example, would Kota Ibushi feud with Neville over, nothing? Just for the heck of it? In the long run, that doesn't make sense, and in the long run, it would hurt the division, so you'll need a title sooner or later. 5 titles on Raw, plus a lot of main eventers that want to be shown and presented. So, you basically have every match on a pay-per-view card already given, except you want to make do a lot of unnecessary matches and water down the quality and the time that are given to the really important matches. So it'll need a lot of hard work, and I would prefer if the Cruiserweight division would go to SmackDown along with Neville. And WWE really needs to work on that, because with this Universal title, it stirs up a lot of things, and if they are not cautious enough, it could be that Raw will be the same, in the end, the same shit we have seen for the past several years, with lots of lackluster matches on pay-per-views, matches that lack build-up, and SmackDown will have some matches that are built up really well, and some matches that nobody really wants to invest in. So WWE really needs to work hard to make it work, and we'll see where it all leads, or where it is headed. I, for one, would have preferred one world title, but they still can make it work, and with monthly pay-per-views for both brands, hopefully we'll see a lot of great action. So, if you want to comment on my comment, feel free to do so in the commentary section. I'm happy to discuss things with you. Hopefully you'll tune in next time. So long, your Sab.